I know like a lot of AI news been going around, a lot of people don't know what's going on. So I thought it would be a good chance for you to understand like what's actually happening. And you can guess, so this picture was actually generated by AI. So I want to make this useful for everyone. So like I was saying, AI we can go very technical, we can go like very not technical. So I want to get a show of hands of like, so how many people are like investments, how many people are like working in tech? Okay. And then how many people are like startup founders? Okay, so that's a good mix. So I want to make sure that like it's useful for everyone. So go next one. So if you're working in tech, these are part of like 4 things that come to mind, right? It's like, shit, man, there's a new AI news every week, right? Or like, it's hard to keep up, or this doesn't help my job, right? Like, I can't use it right now, right? Or like, you can do basic stuff, like maybe write an email, right? Any other thoughts you guys have that like goes to mind?
So the trace of it.
Yeah.
So much updated. Like, how do you figure out which one to use?
Yeah. Anything else? Anyone?
Is it gonna replace my job?
Yeah, that'll be the next one.
I play around with all
Yeah.
different chats and 3.0, 3.5, 4.0, and it's like if you look around, you find different ones, and they do serve different purposes, and once you find the niche, you know which ones to go.
Yeah, so I'll have a slide on those.
Okay.
So now it's like founders, right? The next, look, this is what you're thinking. You're like you're excited and you're scared. Right? It's like, you're like shit. Am I still gonna be around next month, right? Like, it's just gonna do what my SaaS does, right? Or like these investors are saying like, I need AI, or I'm making funding, right? Or the opposite. It's like, oh, AI is so good, can I replace my employees, right? Like, what are thoughts of you guys have?
Surface level, you know.
See, then there's the opposite.
There is a lot of advances being made, right? But
Yeah.
if you go too soon to talk to an investor about it, they get mixed up because they're not sure. So
Yeah.
figuring out when.
Exactly. Next is investors, right? So like, if you're an investor, like, I think these things come to mind, right? Like, what's all this buzz about it? It's AI easy to do now, right? Because you keep hearing, or like, is there any moats around your startup anymore, right? So it's like, I guess those are some of the questions. Is there any other questions like you can think of that comes to mind?
We've been seeing that like, something that took 6 months ago, now we can do it in a few weeks.
Yeah, like OpenAI Assistant is better than what it was before, right? That's one example.
Yeah, you're right. These platforms are leveling up, and also like, I don't know, just code base, open source, so much.
But open is still not quite there. I'll get to that afterwards. So a little background now, so like we do custom software development for clients. I think I talked to everyone so far, so I think you guys all know what I do. Just from more context, we do about like 50 projects a year, and after the last 50, like 20 of them were all AI projects. So we know exactly what's going on. We're doing R&D every day, so we know exactly what's bleeding, what's not, and the edge. So the term's called RAG, retrieval augmentation. So either like we have a lot of documents, we ask the questions. We use the AI to help do scoring, do reasoning, or like replacing manual steps that you would tell a human to do. That's the second one. And then the third one is basically using the LM as an expert to do tasks that you don't tell an expert to do, but you put it in a black box, right? So like you give it all those tools, you close the environment, it knows exactly what it can do and cannot do, and then it's there just to perform. And then the last one is just create content in a closed box. So this is a very key one, right? Like a lot of clients talk to, they think that, I can just type ChatGPT and just, find all the stocks that will make me 100% return, right? Like, that's not how it works. Like, the AI is not very good at, you have to give it very specific instructions and tell it exactly this is what you can do and do it. Anything else, it's like, it's not quite there yet, right? Here's a good example. So this is for one client we did. They're an insurance company. They wanted us to aggregate all the insurance policies in Australia, all the bank policies, and then basically scrape it daily, and then basically it can ask questions and then get answers back in real time. So that's one example. Does anyone have any questions?
How effective is that?
This one?
Yeah.
It's like 80% correct. The problem is when you have to scrape data constantly, the format of the websites are not always good.
Yeah.
And then the format really affects the results, right? It's not even about AI, I'm not able to reason, it's just, so we have to R&D a lot of like different ways to like parse better. And next one is for scoring. So for anyone who's into sport betting, we had a client who basically, he wants to scrape all the sport betting sites, hold the odds, use API to like pull the betting information, and we can ask. So he doesn't have a proprietary betting algorithm, but basically he has a way of basically we're just using very standard like odds, hedging, and like he's trying to use AI to kind of help you do that.
Policies around betting and all that sort of stuff. And we ask it for betting, like, what is it called? Predictions, things like that.
No, so GP 3.5 is not. GP 4 is not.
Oh, okay. I mean,
GP 4.0 is more subject.
It depends on what you're doing. No, 3.5 is more like the hallucinate.
And as it progresses, it gets more creative. So if I want something more creative, it's subject to hallucinations.
No, it's more. I think it's more of a cost thing. So if you need to do reasoning or hard logic, then you go to 4. If you do want to do fast and cheap, you go 3.5. But 4 is really expensive. It's like
Oh, yeah.
it used to be like $50 a day in testing,
Yeah, it's great.
right?
This is a really cool example. You're saying that like you're using it to predict the outcome of a match.
No, so basically it pulls all the betting data. It pulls. I think you can ask questions. So like, oh, like what's the odds for this? So basically, imagine I'm a dummy in sports betting, and I have expert knowledge on how I should bet, and then that's
So it's pulling it from real time
Yes.
data that's coming up.
yes.
Because it says there that Barcelona has a 57% chance and Barcelona has a 2% chance.
Because it could be a tough.
Also, we're using I think LangChain for this, so like you can do different languages because like certain LLMs cannot do cross language.
okay.
We had another client where like you ask question in English and we scrape like documents in Norwegian and some in German, and then like it would translate and figure it out, bring it back to school.
I guess my question really is like, are you finding that RAG search is good at numbers? Is it something we struggle with?
Bragg search first.
Yeah.
Financial data.
Financial data.
Yeah.
We haven't had so much of those. We have a financial report, and we can do all the P&L calculations, compliance, and do all that tracking stuff. So we're working on that. I don't remember exactly how far we got on it, but there are ways to make the numbers.
Can I just say one thing? So if you have to RAG using it, yes, we need that, but it's like you can also RAG.
I think the key is pulling out the right information in segments, and then tell it to do reasoning. Like the problem is if you start mixing like tags and numbers and stuff, it just gets really bad, right? Like the more black box you can do it, the better, right? So this is the example of that client. So he was telling me like to do financial reporting, it usually takes him like a few months to get the answer for each one. So he wants to automate that. So this is one of the other projects we're doing. We have another project in oil and gas industry where so in mining, when you have to scope a project, it costs almost $2 million to hire engineers to read the documents, give the compliance, give the go ahead, right? So one of our clients that we're also doing that for us, and we're basically taking almost 7,000 documents, processing it, and then pulling out the reasoning from it.
Given that the objective is to figure out a question from a financial report or something like that, and given we have 5 companies that we want to research, or like let's say 20, what's the most difficult part within that process, right? Like we're not giving you the financial reports, right? We just know the names of the 20 companies or 50 companies, and we want to know if their latest earnings report has X factor or whatever. What's the hardest part throughout the process? Parsing?
It's actually not reasoning. Reasoning is very easy. You just prompt it properly and it'll do it. It's just getting data in the right format. Like for example, if you have tables that are messed up, very hard to deal with, right? We have circuit diagrams. As one client told us, like, I have a floor plan of, in the construction business, you have a floor plan. He wants to count how many walls we need. That's really hard.
Yeah.
Right? Did you get it to do it?
What?
Did you get it?
No, we went to discovery and then we just scrapped the project because like it was just too hard to do.
Yeah, right. I'd be interested. Yeah.
I think there are ways. I'm not into that some more,
I
but
think my question is more like before you even get to the document, you kind of have to navigate the web to find that document, right?
no. So you have to preset everything. Remember, I talked about black box. Like you need to know what you're looking for, right? So it's like we have to go to these sites. We have API ready. So you just say Apple. This process will just go to Apple to pull the data. Automatic. You understand? So you're not telling it to go look by itself.
Yeah. So
That's why the stuff like agent, GPT, and stuff don't work
yeah.
at all. It's not
Telling it
good.
where to look and where.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna pull from that.
Yeah, you just software development to pull it. You don't use the AI to pull it.
Yeah.
Right?
So at scale, that's a really difficult problem, right? Like with 100 companies, their financial reports very
It's not hard.
different.
No, you just figure out how do you scrape it, right? You have to scrape it once. And then you just send a request to it and it goes scrapes it. Right? It's not
hard.
Hard is parsing the document into the right format you need.
It's the formats are standardized. It's like,
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Some formats are not, right? Like, yeah, like especially PDFs are messed. Like, let's say like what's an image PDF versus what's a text. HTML is more standardized,
Yeah.
and you can use that, right? But it doesn't. It's there's no perfect solution. It really depends on use case. So this is another project we did. So this one is you've seen there's these sites that can take your video, transcribe it, and tell you what the texts are. So this is what the project we're doing, where we're breaking it by the sentence into smaller clips, and then we're using AI to recombine it and do the video editing on top of it. So let's say you say the word like oh no, and then like you zoom in on the face, right? Because like there's an action, right? So you leverage the LLM as the expert in like, okay, you should do this at this point. And then everything else is just, you make the software development tools for it to kind of use in a way. Or another example is, next one, where basically like, you tell it to be like, let's say I have a question to two people, I can tell like, analyze like, how subjective I was. And it can tell you like, oh, like I was subjective arguments this much, these are the weaknesses, these are words I shouldn't use. So you can really treat the AI as an expert. Any questions so far? No. I have a friend who's crazy about that. He does like every single thing, every reporting he does. This is another example. So this is from a university. So they want to use AI to create the whole curriculum. So you can say, I want to pass the GED. I want a personalized plan for how do I do it. So we would pull the topics, create the curriculum, create the exam for them to use to self-study. So this is another example.
what's the range of topics that you could address? What could you address, like an artistic topic or something along those lines?
Yeah, it breaks down the topics, makes a plan for each one, tells you how to go study for it, and then makes you questions. Okay, and then this is another AI one. So this is kind of the same technologies for the first page, where basically we have a client where like they run an events company and they want to take this picture and put it on top of superior posture or whatever. So this is an example on different bases. And you can see like some of them don't look that real, but some of them do. Okay. To be honest, this kind of project is really, really painful. I would almost never do it again. Because like it's random. You never get the same picture twice. It's also racist. So
it's not deterministic, because they're kind of random factors.
yeah, so basically there's a prompt, you can tell it like how you want the image to look, and then you have to click on negative prompt to remove features. Right? But then like we had to like there's some random seed values you can put into it to like initialize it. And we had to like literally like save that seed value and use it again to as close as possible to the last one. But it's not, you'll never get exact. Yeah. So I would almost never do it. Why does AI have a finger problem? So the problem is, the story is that the AI is trained by data, right? So they took pictures of people and they fed into the model and they said this is a face, until it kind of understood it. And then like it could generate pictures afterwards, right? But they never trained it on fingers. And then fingers are very hard. Like this, there's no way you'll capture every single scenario. And then like that's why it has a lot of problems. So that's why in this project, the client wanted finger before, we're like, no, face shot only. And then that works, right? Also, like if the angle, like if I take pictures like this, it's way worse, right? Like you would want to be like straightforward. Take pictures. Any questions? Or I'll show you the next one. This will be more funny. And then there's another client. So this client, he was trying to dress OnlyFans girls. This guy has like 3K followers. Like he paid us to do it. It was like put clothes on girls. So that's, or change this, or you can just like they wear one shirt and you can tell them to change the shirt. It's no shirt. How familiar you guys with the terminology? LLM stands for large language model. So that's the AI model that. So for people who don't know, it's basically it's not really it doesn't actually think or anything. It's a probability machine, right? It just got trained on so much data that it just guessed the next best word, and it sounds coherent, right? And like that's what it does. And the most common models are Mistral, Llama, Gemini, before Claude. Can you go to the next one? Then there's tokens. So people don't know what tokens are. So tokens are when you type in ChatGPT, it has a memory of how much space it can store information to give you back an answer. Almost like 4 letters is 1 token. So if you say hello world, that would be like 2 tokens. And then so 3 tokens, but there's a space between it. Another key one. So if you set the temperature closer to 0, the AI doesn't get as creative. And then if you set close to 1, it's off the rails, right? So basically, if you want to tell the instructional work, then you would use close to 0. And if you want creative writing stuff, you closer to 1. And then there's max 2 tokens. The lower it is, the less tokens it has to spit out, which means the faster it is. So if you need 100 or less tokens, within a few seconds. You want 500 tokens, at least a minute. So you have to be very careful when you use AI if you need to give answers. I will go through the common pitfalls and lessons we learned with the LLM. The LLM is really good at retrieving information and answering it. It's also very good at answering questions in a black box, right? Like finding patterns or like scoring stuff. It's very bad at like multi-level logic. So you have like an if this, if this, if this. So like I tried making it help me write proposal once. It just won't do it properly. It's very good at executing step-by-step logic, and it's very good at generating word by word. So if you need to generate a poem or a thing, that's what it's designed for. What it's not good at, I'm a very vague wall, and I'm like, go figure it out. It's not good at handling a lot of documents. So I don't know if you guys tried OpenAI Assistant. They're like, it's a lot faster, but there's a cap. Like you can only do like, I think like 2 GB of data. So if you combine it, maybe like we did the math, maybe 500 documents. But our projects need 7,000 documents. So it wouldn't work. It's also very bad at summarizing data, where if you have a lot of text, you tell it to summarize it and miss a lot of context. So if you want to summarize better, you can tell it to summarize like every 5 lines or something like that. And that's it. It's very bad at hallucinating in the middle of a conversation. So if there's too much text, it just won't remember what happened in the middle or what happened. So now I told you this, your question's probably like, so what, right? Like that doesn't help me, right? I just want to give some more practical tips for everyone. So if you're ever using like any of the LLMs, you want to be as specific as possible. So you can say like, act like an expert, painter or whatever, and then tell it what you want to do, right? So in this way, it restricts the search space, so it gives you better answers, right? Another one would be like, be more friendly to the LLM, right? So that like, it gives, because it was trained on data and how the human responds to it. So if it's too far off, it'll give you it may not give you the best answer. Right? Then the next one is make LLM feel like it's doing a real task, right? So like, imagine you're working on a complex project. Don't give it very vague instructions. Be as specific as possible. Any questions on this?
But when you're talking about all of the different engines, or
What do you mean?
like the different kinds of they're treating them all, are there significant difference between them?
Yes, I'll show the other slide on the later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's just how it's interactive.
Here's another example. Like I did this like yesterday, right? Like I told it like here's a code base, here's some code I want you to optimize the code, right? And it kept skipping steps, and you'll do like part of it. And it's like you'll figure out the rest later, right? Like just like it has like comments like that. GPT-4 is actually getting worse and worse every few months because they add more rules to make it slower and stuff. So like this is an example, right? Like you're an expert. Like I already be as prescriptive as possible, and it will still skip steps, right? Because GPT-4 has like a mandate to return like.
Zeppelin, software engineer.
Oh no, they faked the demo. If you look at timestamps,
They faked it?
if you look at timestamps, it took them 3 hours to execute that. There's no way that like it wouldn't take the developer 3 hours. Look at the timestamps. It took 3 hours for each task to do.
I believe you. Right? Because
It doesn't make sense, right? It's a demo too, right? So it's like
yeah.
this is like the full prompt we would actually have to use to get it to actually give a full code base. So you can see how much more prescriptive we can be. Okay, next one. These are more tips that we've learned. So like I said, so the temperature one I mentioned before, tokens I mentioned before. Another tip is remove all the punctuation when you do RAG, or remove it. That automatically cuts the context size by a lot, like almost 50%, right? And then you could actually save more space and do more stuff. But LLMs are getting better and better, so context becomes less of a problem. But for the longest time, when it was stuck at 4,000, this was very important. Summarization, and then basically using different models for different tasks. So I'll explain that next. I tried to explain it better because it can get too technical. So like, I tried to make a meme for each model so it's easy to understand. So I would think of GPT 3.5 as like the Flash. Very fast. May not be the best, but like, it's good enough, right? And there's no limits on using it. Okay? GPT 4, it's like, the mad scientist, like it's very good for long conversations. It's pretty factual, and it's good for a longer tasks than recent. But it gives very generic answers, so that's that. And then you have Azure, it's like a giant, but basically it's like a scaled version of GPT. GPT-4 has a lot of rate limit issues, so you can only use a certain amount per month per hour. Azure has a higher limit. And then Claude 3 came out recently, it's even better than the other one. So for now, it's like the strongest one. It's not that good at reasoning. It's good at like creative. Any questions?
How do you access Azure?
Azure, if you sign up on Azure, you can use the API version. And then for Claude, you can sign up with the API.
I use Hold.com, which is it gives you access to every LLM, like Mistral, $20 a month, and like you can get access to every single one. You can create your own bots and stuff. So you don't need that. You don't need to go through the API also.
Then the other four, it's like there's Gemini. So Gemini, Google hyped it a lot, but when we tested it, it's worse than GPT-4. So my dev said don't use it, right? Then there's Mistral. So Mistral is the best open source one. You wouldn't have a conversation with Mistral, right? Like it's just like do this, do this, do this. It's very like blunt, like get to the point. Code Llama generates code. It's like everything else is better than it now. Llama's not really good. And then there's a new one called Grok.
Native is a version guy.
Yes. Yeah. So Grok is basically they switched the server architecture to CPU instead of GPU, and basically they can run the LLMs really fast, like 10 times faster than normal. So if you try yourself, within 25 seconds, you get the response right away.
And all the whole compiler from scratch for that.
Even though like I've talked about it a lot, but like it's very hard to picture tokens. So I kind of explained to you like those numbers on the bottom is how many pages of text you can handle. So the full Llama can handle 6 pages of text, like papers, right? 21 for GPT-5, Mistral at 42, 107 for 170 for GPT, and then Gemini. Any questions? Next one. Another issue before was like formatting the response, telling it to be a JSON format or something else. This was a huge problem before, but it's become less. What's their specialty, right? So Mistral is, like I said, very strong, blunt, not sensitivity, very direct. So if you want to do like very like straightforward tasks, GPT 3.5, you want generic responses, and it doesn't demand very deep insights. So you use GPT 3.5. GPT-4 for like accurate, strong, productive answers. Claude instance is perfect for quick insights, and then each Claude they go up and up. But Claude is the most expensive. It's from Anthropic. So there are a couple that's sponsored by Amazon. Basically, all the big companies have their own version of their LLM. And then there's like GPT and image processing, right? So what it's good at? It's good at like reading handwriting. It's very good at like reading like basic reports and then giving graphs or even answers. It's good at reading text from images. And then it's very good at reading screenshots. What it's not good at is it's not good at reading circuit diagrams or anything that's very complex diagram. It's not good at like reading websites. Like I tried like taking a screenshot website and tell it to make it the code. It can't even identify the navigation bar. And then other stuff like the racism. Some of the lessons we learned from the image generation was headshots are better, avoid fingers. Try to get the image to like 512 by 512. Training the model takes a lot of time, like almost like 5-10 minutes. And you can't get away with that. And then it's very hard to generate the same image.
Can I ask a question about it? And I could go back to the image. You said you saved it as a starter image and put it in the next time.
If you use the same CID, it'll be closer. It's not exact. But it's very hard. You need to keep trying. So lessons we learned that you have to keep tweaking the prompt. I actually think prompting is harder than coding it. Because it's English, but it's not English. You understand? Like, if you're a developer, you don't know the artistic terms, right? So it's like, you change the word to like cinematic, or that's like it makes a big difference, right? So like, that's why I said I would almost never do another like image project. And just the constant iteration, it's just very painful. And then these are some of the other frameworks that we use. So like, for Cohere, use it for like chatbot or anything that's more enterprise scale. Use LangChain with chain lock component, and then if you need flexibility, you just do it manually. Next one. And then for the vector database, like use Pinecone to up a lot of documents. Lambda index if it's like local for low documents, and then LangChain. So some of the parts that came out so far. So there's this one called GenAI where they said that basically you take your code and it's basically you can tell it, give me a plan, and then it will execute the software development for you on your behalf. So like I said, their one I think is fake, but Microsoft is also making it as well. and they release the paper on it. So I think it's happening very fast. They'll get this done, and I'm trying to do R&D on this myself in my own company. So it's actually doable, but you treat it more like a turn-based game, right? Where it's like you make a plan, you break it into steps, and then you just execute each step one by one until it fixes it. So I think this is very good as a bug fixing developer process. Next one. If you guys heard of Sora or basically generate images, then there are another big one called LAM, Large Action Model. So the idea is that you would do a task once, and then basically it will kind of prescribe it into text, and then basically it can just replicate you manually buttons on your computer or doing stuff. So like automating like the tasks. So I think this is the most scary of all of it because that's what all business analysts are doing, or like people who work in the private companies. So imagine like say, just do it once and the AI can do it. So a good example of this would be like go to Bloomberg, pull down the reports, make a pivot table, maybe some graph, email it to me every day.
Yeah.
You can actually do that now. Excellent. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. Any questions?
For the generative stuff.
Only stable diffusion.
Okay.
The other ones.
The other one's working. Interesting.
We tried to remove, we tried all